You scroll through Instagram staring at videos of people effortlessly walking down gorgeous cobblestone streets in Paris or Rome, and then you look out your window at a generic 6-lane American highway and accept your tragic fate. You assume that living a highly walkable, beautiful life with historic architecture requires a European passport, a $1 million trust fund, or paying $3,000 a month for a tiny apartment in New York City. It doesn't. You have just been conditioned to believe that the only way to own a home in America is to buy a beige box in a soulless suburban strip mall, where you have to sit in 20 minutes of gridlock traffic just to buy a single cup of coffee. But here is the ultimate 2026 real estate cheat code. Before the invention of the automobile completely destroyed our city planning, America actually built some incredibly gorgeous, pedestrian-friendly neighborhoods. And because everyone is currently distracted by overpriced modern suburbs, these historic architectural goldmines have been completely ignored, making them shockingly cheap. You don't need to cross the Atlantic to escape the car-centric rat race. Today, we are exposing 10 affordable, walkable US cities that look and feel exactly like Europe, where you can ditch your car and buy a stunning, historic home for under $200,000. Let's get into it.
Number 10. Baltimore, Maryland. If you want to feel like you just stepped into a 19th century Charles Dickens novel without crossing the Atlantic Ocean, welcome to Baltimore. The stats? It is one of the most affordable East Coast real estate markets in the country, and if you look specifically at neighborhoods like Fells Point or Mount Vernon, you will find some of the most stunning, perfectly preserved English-style row homes in existence. But here is what nobody tells you about buying historic homes under $200K in Baltimore. These houses were built in the 1850s, which means the staircases were designed for people who were apparently the size of small children. The architecture is gorgeous, the exposed brick is authentic, but walking up to your master bedroom feels less like climbing a staircase and more like a high-stakes rock climbing expedition. Still, the trade-off is absolutely legendary. You are trading a miserable highway commute for a neighborhood where you can literally walk on genuine cobblestone streets, pass by historic English-style pubs that have been open since the 1700s, and live a completely pedestrian-friendly lifestyle in a major US city for the price of a used Tesla. It is a working-class city with a deeply European soul, right on the water. Picture this. You step out of your red brick federal-style row house, the morning air is crisp and a gentle fog rolls off the harbor. You walk down a narrow cobblestone alleyway, grab a fresh coffee from a corner cafe, and smell the legendary scent of Maryland crab cakes wafting from a historic tavern. You are living an absolute English maritime fantasy right up until you try to move a king-size mattress up your aggressively vertical 150-year-old staircase and instantly regret every decision you've ever made. Number 9. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. When Americans think of the Midwest, they usually picture endless flat cornfields and generic suburbs. The stats: Milwaukee completely destroys that stereotype. It is one of the most culturally rich, cheap places to live in America. Median home prices in several beautiful historic neighborhoods sit comfortably under the $200,000 mark. But here's what nobody tells you about Milwaukee. This city wasn't just influenced by German immigrants, it was practically copy and pasted directly from Munich. The architecture is a breathtaking display of Gothic and Victorian design. You have European-style breweries on every single corner, stunning riverwalks, and an incredibly walkable downtown core. However, to live this affordable European lifestyle, you have to pay the ultimate price: the Wisconsin winter. Living in Milwaukee is essentially like living in a magical German Christmas village, but the Christmas village is located inside a commercial freezer from November to April. The locals survive this by consuming a diet that consists almost entirely of fried cheese curds and local Pilsner. But if you can handle the snow, you are getting an insanely high quality of life. You can buy a massive 1920s craftsman-style home with original hardwood floors and stained glass for a fraction of what a tiny condo costs in Chicago. Picture this. It's a vibrant summer afternoon. You're strolling down the Milwaukee Riverwalk, admiring the historic Cream City brick buildings that look straight out of Bavaria. You sit down at an outdoor beer garden, raise a massive glass of local German-style lager, and enjoy a completely stress-free, walkable life. Then the calendar hits January, the wind chill drops to -20, your tears physically freeze to your face, and you suddenly understand why your neighbors eat so much heavy cheese. Number 8. Mobile, Alabama. Everyone dreams of living the French Quarter lifestyle in New Orleans, with the romantic balconies, the jazz music, and the incredible architecture. The stats? New Orleans has gotten incredibly expensive and notoriously difficult to insure. But just 2 hours away sits Mobile, Alabama, the original capital of French Louisiana, offering that exact same stunning European aesthetic for pennies on the dollar. But here's what nobody tells you about this hidden southern gem. Mobile gives you the gorgeous French and Spanish colonial architecture, the wrought iron balconies, and the hidden courtyard gardens, but it comes without the crushing crowds and the overwhelming smell of Bourbon Street. It's an affordable, pedestrian-friendly city where you can easily find a historic home under $200K. But there's a catch. The humidity here doesn't just make you sweat, it physically assaults you. Walking through the historic districts of Mobile in July is like trying to breathe underwater with a winter coat. It's statistically one of the rainiest cities in the US. You're getting a stunning European-style colonial paradise, but your hair will never ever look good again. It's a 100% frizz-guaranteed lifestyle. But for the price of the real estate, you can easily afford to run your air conditioning at absolute maximum capacity all year round. Picture this. It's a vibrant summer afternoon. You're strolling down under a massive canopy of ancient twisting oak trees draped in beautiful Spanish moss. You look up at the stunning wrought iron balconies of the historic homes surrounding a quiet European-style public square. It's a picture-perfect French colonial dream, right until you take 3 steps, immediately sweat through your linen shirt, and realize the air here is composed of 98% warm soup.
Number 7. Tarpon Springs, Florida. Florida is famous for massive retirement communities, endless strip malls, and Disney World. The stats? Hidden away on the Gulf Coast is a tiny, incredibly walkable town called Tarpon Springs, where the median home prices in the historic areas are shockingly affordable compared to the rest of the 2026 Florida real estate market. But here's what nobody tells you about Tarpon Springs. You aren't moving to Florida. You are literally moving to a Greek island. In the early 1900s, Greek sponge divers settled this town, and they completely transformed it into a Mediterranean village. The streets are lined with whitewashed buildings, bright blue accents, authentic Greek bakeries, and stunning waterfront sponge docks. It is a completely car-optional pedestrian paradise. However, when you buy a house here, you are also adopting an entire community of highly aggressive Greek grandmas known as yayas. You cannot walk down the street without someone trying to feed you. Dieting in Tarpon Springs is illegal and biologically impossible. You will trade the generic American suburban lifestyle for a vibrant, loud, culturally immersive Mediterranean reality, where feta cheese is essentially treated as the primary currency. Picture this. You're strolling down the sun-drenched Dodecanese Boulevard. The smell of fresh, warm baklava and roasting gyro meat fills the air. White and blue sponge boats bob gently in the beautiful Gulf water. You sit down at an outdoor cafe, order an authentic Greek espresso, and instantly have to duck as a local fisherman aggressively tosses a massive wet sea sponge across the street, reminding you that you officially live in a chaotic Mediterranean sitcom. Number 6. St. Louis, Missouri. When people think of the most beautiful architecture in the world, they think of Paris. When they think of St. Louis, they usually just think of a giant metal arch. The stats? St. Louis is secretly hiding some of the most spectacular, dirt-cheap historic real estate in the entire country. But here's what nobody tells you about this Midwest powerhouse. Neighborhoods like Soulard and Lafayette Square are architectural masterpieces. We're talking perfectly preserved multi-story red brick Victorian and French Second Empire mansions that look like they were pulled directly out of a 19th century Parisian postcard. And because the city has an incredibly low cost of living, you can actually buy a piece of this historic walkable paradise for under $200K. But to unlock this insanely cheap European-style living, you have to accept the local St. Louis culture, which is deeply, aggressively weird. The locals are fiercely patriotic about 2 things: asking you what high school you went to, and eating a bizarre plastic-like substance called Provel cheese. You're getting a majestic, walkable, cobblestone neighborhood with outdoor farmers markets and live jazz, but you have to culturally assimilate into a society that willingly deep fries its ravioli. Picture this. You're walking your dog through Lafayette Park, the oldest urban park west of the Mississippi. Surrounding you on all sides are massive, stunningly colorful Victorian mansions with intricate ironwork. It feels elegant, sophisticated, and deeply European. Then, your neighbor enthusiastically offers you a square-cut piece of incredibly thin pizza covered in a cheese that actively defies the laws of chemistry, and you smile, take a bite, and accept your beautiful, weird, new Midwest reality. Number 5. Holland, Michigan. If you want to experience the Netherlands without paying $2,000 for an international flight, welcome to Holland, Michigan. The stats: this small, pedestrian-friendly city sits right on the edge of Lake Makatawa and boasts stunning canals, actual working Dutch windmills, and a world-famous tulip festival. And incredibly, you can still find gorgeous, historic homes sitting right near the downtown area for under $200,000. But here's what nobody tells you about buying cheap real estate in a Dutch-inspired utopia. The people here are so aggressively polite and friendly that if you're moving from a stressed-out coastal city, you will initially assume you have joined a cult. This city is so ridiculously committed to the walkable European lifestyle that they literally installed a massive snow melt system underneath the downtown cobblestone streets. Yes, they heat the sidewalks in the winter so you can walk to the pub without slipping on ice. You're trading the miserable, concrete jungle American commute for a town that operates like a fairy tale village. The crime rate is virtually non-existent, the streets are spotless, and the biggest local controversy is usually about whose tulips bloomed too early. It's completely idyllic, but you'll have to mentally adjust to a society where strangers make intense, smiling eye contact with you on the sidewalk. Picture this. It's a brisk December evening. You're wearing a cozy wool coat, effortlessly strolling down a brick-paved, heated sidewalk while the snow falls beautifully around you. You look into the glowing window of a local Dutch bakery. Then, a complete stranger walks up, cheerfully hands you a fresh pastry, wishes you a blessed evening, and you instantly panic because your city-hardened brain is convinced this person is definitely an undercover federal agent.
Number 4. Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Lancaster is one of the oldest inland cities in the United States, and walking through its historic core feels exactly like stepping into an old English countryside village. The stats? It is a highly walkable urban center packed with narrow brick alleyways, centuries-old taverns, and vibrant central markets. Because it is quietly tucked away in Pennsylvania, you can actually buy beautifully preserved 18th and 19th century row homes here for a fraction of what they would cost in Boston or Philadelphia. But here is what nobody tells you about the ultimate 2026 walkable lifestyle in Lancaster. You are officially sharing the road with the Amish. You wanted a European pre-car lifestyle? Well, congratulations, you got it. While you are walking to your favorite hipster coffee shop or browsing a local art gallery, the actual street traffic is a wild mix of modern sedans and literal horse-drawn buggies. Living in downtown Lancaster is a phenomenal real estate hack. You get stunning historic architecture, a massive art scene, and a completely pedestrian-friendly neighborhood where you never have to sit in gridlocked highway traffic again. But you do have to accept that occasionally your morning commute to the local farmer's market will be delayed because a horse decided to take a biological break right in the middle of a historic intersection. Picture this. You are walking down a perfectly preserved colonial-era cobblestone street. The smell of fresh, artisanal pretzels and roasted coffee fills the morning air. You feel completely disconnected from the chaotic modern world. Then you try to cross the street while checking an email on your iPhone, and you have to aggressively dodge a wooden carriage driven by a man named Ezekiel who is quietly judging your screen time. Number 3. Syracuse, New York.
When people think of New York, they think of Manhattan, but upstate New York is hiding some of the most spectacular, dirt-cheap historic real estate on the planet. The stats? Syracuse features areas like Hanover and Clinton Square, which look like they were ripped straight out of Edinburgh or London. You are surrounded by massive, towering Gothic and Romanesque stone architecture, and the median home price is a laughably low $150,000. But here is what nobody tells you about buying historic homes under $200K in Syracuse. The architecture is intensely European, but the weather is intensely aggressive. Syracuse is the snow capital of the United States. Thanks to Lake Ontario, this walkable, pedestrian-friendly city gets buried under endless feet of lake-effect snow. You can buy a gorgeous 1920s brick home for the price of a used Honda, but you'll need to earn a literal PhD in extreme weather pedestrian survival. If you want the European Gothic aesthetic, you have to earn it. The city center is incredibly walkable, packed with gorgeous historic pubs, stone gargoyles, and local cafes. But from December to March, you are living inside a violently shaken snow globe. You are trading a stressful traffic commute to the absolute sheer willpower of walking 3 blocks in a blizzard to get a pint of Guinness. Picture this, you are strolling through a magnificent downtown plaza. The massive stone buildings and towering cathedrals make you feel like you are walking through the set of a Harry Potter movie. The history is palpable. Then a sudden blinding lake-effect snow squall hits, dropping 3 feet of snow in 40 minutes, and you have to essentially tunnel your way back to your historic 19th century home like a Victorian-era Arctic explorer. Number 2. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh has completely rebranded itself. It went from a dirty, smog-filled steel town to a stunning, high-tech, highly walkable metropolis. The stats? The geography here is insane. The city is built on steep hills and deep river valleys, giving it a dramatic, layered skyline that feels exactly like Lisbon, Portugal, or the Amalfi Coast at Italy. You have over 400 historic bridges, stunning pedestrian-friendly neighborhoods like Lawrenceville, and you can still snag a historic home here on a budget. But here is what nobody tells you about the European lifestyle in America's Rust Belt. Pittsburgh geometry is absolute chaos. There is no grid system. The streets curve, bend, and aggressively wrap around mountains. The city is so steep that to commute from certain neighborhoods, you literally have to ride a 150-year-old wooden funicular cable car up and down the side of a cliff. Living in Pittsburgh means you get an insanely beautiful, walkable, culturally rich European vibe, but your calves will literally be screaming in pain. You aren't just walking to the grocery store, you are engaging in high-altitude mountaineering. GPS algorithms come to Pittsburgh to die. You will miss a turn on a bridge and accidentally end up in a different dimension, but at least the historic brick houses are cheap and the local beer is incredible. Picture this, you are riding a gorgeous vintage wooden cable car up the side of Mount Washington. As you look down, you see a breathtaking cinematic view of 3 massive rivers colliding beneath hundreds of yellow bridges. You feel like you are in a romantic European film, right until you get off the cable car, realize you have to carry 4 heavy bags of groceries up a literal 45-degree vertical sidewalk, and you immediately question your cardiovascular fitness. And finally, the ultimate European cheat code in America, Cincinnati, Ohio, specifically the Over-the-Rhine neighborhood. The stats? This area holds the largest, most intact collection of 19th century Italianate and German architecture in the entire United States. It's a completely pedestrian-friendly utopia of narrow brick alleys, gorgeous streetcars, and the historic Finley Market. And somehow, you can still buy into this European dream for a fraction of what Brooklyn or Boston costs. But here is what nobody tells you. Cincinnati is the perfect intersection of high-class European architecture and absolutely unhinged Midwestern food culture. Over the Rhine was built by German immigrants, and walking through it feels like you are walking through a historic Bavarian capital. It's visually flawless. You have outdoor beer gardens, stunning public parks, and completely walkable streets where cars feel entirely unnecessary. But to legally live in this European paradise, you have to accept Skyline chili. The locals here do not eat normal food. They take a plate of wet spaghetti, cover it in a deeply confusing cinnamon-flavored meat chili, and then bury it under an absolute mountain of shredded cheddar cheese. You have hacked the 2026 real estate matrix. You bought a gorgeous historic home, but you must sacrifice your culinary dignity to the Ohio chili gods. Picture this. You are walking down a breathtaking, narrow 19th century brick street. A vintage streetcar rings its bell as it glides past you. You listen to a street musician playing an acoustic guitar outside an authentic European bakery. You feel culturally enriched. Then you sit down at a diner. A waiter hands you a massive plate of cinnamon chili-covered spaghetti. You take a bite, stare into the distance, and proudly accept that you are living the strangest, most affordable, and most beautiful American dream.